welcome to the first ever Take a Pull podcast. Andy Cummins, Declan Carroll. Declan, how are you?
Great, looking forward to this. Tap one.
Tap one. It's going to be USC style. Tap 1, 2, 3, all the way to 1,000 and beyond. I cannot wait for this. A quick rundown of the show, guys. This is going to cover all things Irish racing. We're going to cover flat when its time comes. We're going to cover the jumps, predominantly the jumps, obviously, going forward from where we are. We're going to cover everything from maiden hurdles to your veteran chases, grade ones, everything in between. We're going to find the eye catchers. We're going to find you the winners. We're going to do everything Irish racing. I absolutely cannot wait for this.
The stuff people are afraid of.
You don't want to. We'll look at the not to 95s for you. That's the way we're going to go forward.
And there's no schedule to this. We'll come at you when we're ready.
Yeah,
if there's racing on, we might look at it. If we fancy something, we'll throw it up whenever we have time. This is just going to be a little bit crazy.
Yeah, and you'll be able to find us on the Take a Pull pod on X/Twitter. You'll be able to find us on YouTube as well. We'll have all the links up, coming at you as much as humanly possible. Now we're going to start with this weekend, which is going to be Gowran Park. The main event will be the PWC Champion Chase, which sees the return of the fantastic Mwa Allen, who has won himself a champion bumper. He's won himself a Ballymore Novices Hurdle, and he's also the recent winner of the Ryanair Chase. Has a phenomenal record coming back when fresh. But not only are we going to cover the likes of MYLN, we're going to give love to the 3-year-old maiden hurdle, which features the likes of Bigger Than Big Time, No Big Deal, Open to Question. Horses you've never heard of, but we are going to at least try to make them famous. And we'll also cover in a bit of Tipperary as well, which has a nice mixed card. But obviously predominantly we'll be looking at the jumps here. So Dec, the plan is we're going to run through Gowran as quickly as we can in chronological order. I know you have a couple of fancies. If you don't fancy anything, or if there's a horse you just want to make a shout about, be my guest. Let's start anyway with the www.gowranpark.ie 3-year-old maiden hurdle. A lot of people.
Friday, Andy,
Tomorrow, you're doing Friday. Okay. We want to jump into Friday. Absolutely.
Sorry, 2 days.
You want all 2 days? No worries.
Yeah,
So we got the Zenon Security Maiden Hurdle for the 4-year-olds, and I love 4-year-old maiden hurdles, and this is something you're going to see a lot from me going forward on the TAP podcast. Age is something that I, especially in national hunt racing, I take very, very seriously. Horses that can do a lot at a younger age tend to progress. It goes without saying. And an example I'll pull off the straight off the top of my head would be Absolute Notions, the way he's going to progress. I know the likes of Goodland beat him last year, but Goodland obviously being a much older horse, 2 years older than Absolute Notions. 4-year-old hurdles is the first tip I'll give is these are the maiden hurdles you should be really following closely, because these are the horses that are going to perform in the future. Top of the market is Hypotenuse Dec. A nice hurdler last year, a little bit crazy. He's not too well in the head. With his antics in the Triumph Hurdle last year. Was seen getting well beaten by Mystical Power last time out at Galway, the Galway Festival. First time now for Gavin Cromwell. Do you have any thoughts on this maiden hurdle?
Look, I don't have a massive interest in it. It'll be a race I will watch. It's a race I'd like to talk about afterwards. But look, Hypotenuse he's the one you know. Without going through the race too much, he's the one he's easy to talk about. As you said, he ran in the Triumph. Not only was behind Mystical Power in that race, it was Galway, was it?
Galway.
He was also some Samoy and JJZ. Samoy won at Listowel. Week, and JJZ should have won at Downpatrick and just stopped. Was going to win. It was heavy. It wasn't heavy ground. It was soft ground that day. It was bucketing down. Looked the winner and just stopped, found nothing. I don't know whether anything's come out of that, but I think that form is, I know he was well beaten, but you know, second, third and is one. Fourth should have won. Look, glancing through the field, you know, I didn't see anything looking too hard. Obviously Willie has one in there, but I think we'll need to improve. We'll need to improve to win.
Big time.
You'll be looking for, you know, who's jumping, who's getting into a nice rhythm out the back here. That'll be more what I'm interested in.
The ones where literally a few months down the line when you hit our Christmas and spring festivals, and they're off marks in the either the low 100s or the 90s. That's exactly what we look for. Moving swiftly on, Dec, Gowran Park Racing Club maiden hurdle. This is over 2 miles for the older horses. Majority of these are 5 years of age. Again, unsurprisingly at this time of year, the ground is turning, the national hunt season starting, we're going to get pretty full field. It's basically Littlefoot versus Manila Diamond. You can kind of have whatever price you want about the rest. Wisteria Bloom as well. I think the rest of them are all kind of into double figure prices. Is there anything you like here?
Look, I spoke to you about Littlefoot. I did back him in that bumper at Punchestown on the Saturday. Yep. I thought he'd run a big race. You like the winner of that bumper, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Irish Panther was in there as well. Look, he's knocked on the door since. He didn't look to stay when he was up in trip at Wexford. He coming back in trip here, I think is going to suit him. It's not a betting race for me. The one I'm interested in watching is a horse called Catch the Beast.
Right, okay.
He beaten 22 lengths in March. When he showed massive improvement from his debut, was probably back in January. In that race, he was behind Flamborough and Canal End, and they've both won since. Flamborough won at the Stowe last week, and Canal End won a maiden hurdle at Easter at Fairyhouse. He's jumped well. He will get his mark after this, and then I'll be watching him lob around in a handicap, and I'll be going in after that. So he won't be winning next time. He'll be winning the time after that. He's the one I'm most interested in watching here. I want to see him out the back, jump well, come home, few arms waving, and get a nice mark, bit of handicap experience the next day, and then hopefully the money's down.
Yeah. Trainer very notably did well at Navan last year. I think he had a double on in low graded handicaps at Navan last year. So if he does rock up in a low graded handicap at Navan, that's where you could be definitely earmarking and Catch the Beast. The horse you were referring to just before that, Catch the Beast, Littlefoot, Dec, Littlefoot.
Yeah.
The horse that you were mentioning was Walkaway Harry, who I'm going to speak a lot more about when we do our horses to follow pod, which will probably be top 2. And yeah, I'm a big fan of him. Right, yeah, moving swiftly on. I've nothing really in there now, but the golf at the Gowran Park handicap hurdle is our next race, 2 miles. Again, now this is the low graded stuff. These are the type of races we're going to be attacking when the podcast really establishes. This is exactly what we want. Again, unsurprisingly, a very, very full field, 19 duck eggs left, right, and center. This looks like an absolute minefield. Is there anything that I know you've been obviously watching these are the type of horses you regularly watch, Dec? Is there anything that you like here, or we?
Yeah, look, there's 3 that sort of that have me interest. First is Corn of a Monday. Keith Donoghue takes the ride for Philip Dempsey. Keith will be in Phillips a lot, so I think that's notable. Look, on a second run in a handicap, he was probably nearest to finish, but he hasn't been finishing out his races since then. He's been up in trip, and he's ran over 2.5 miles again. He did finish well that day on a second handicap run over 2.5. But they've come right back here to 2 miles. So I think that is interesting with Keith up. Phantom Magic, I actually had a look at Phantom Magic last week. Look, he's had his handicap run for experience, and that was that one last week. I just think he's probably going to need to jump better, and he might take a couple of more runs, a little bit more experience, but he's definitely one to keep an eye on going forward. Tom Harney takes the ride tomorrow. But the one I fancy to win the race, and it's a bit boring, me and you were talking about finding these big price winners. It's the favourite. It's Chem Dog. He was never put into the race on handicap debut. He chased home Guan Toig the next time out at Bellewstown, and Guan Toig followed up at Downpatrick. It's there, the form stand. I suppose that I'm not the only one spotting these things. The bookmakers are too. So that's obviously why he's so short in how many runners have we got, did you say?
We've got 19. Yeah, 19 going to post there. Now, the only thing is, obviously, with Chown Dog, ground is a minor question. Obviously, Australia out of a Medition mare, it's very much flat pedigree. And obviously, he's coming, she is coming from the flat. So that would be the only kind of spanner possibly in the works there. But no, the form is right in the book. Like, when you bump into a subsequent winner that can obviously follow up, you're usually in good spirits in these type of races, and she has been only hit with a 2 pound rise. So yeah, it's a nice one. And look, a 9-4 winner, still a 9-4 winner.
So absolutely. I'm not brave enough to back Phantom Magic tomorrow, but I think there's a day in Phantom Magic, and I'll definitely be keeping a close eye tomorrow. If you are brave enough, he's 50 to 1. It could be worth in each way, but I just think the jumping
be the next day.
It might even be the next week, but the day after that, it's the jumping needs to improve. But when it does, probably well handicapped.
Lovely. Cheers, Dec. The main event on Friday is the Irish Stallion Farms EBF Pat Walsh Memorial Mares Hurdle. This is the return of Magical Zoe, second in the Dawn Run at the Cheltenham Festival behind You Wear It Well. And maybe, I dare say, a little bit disappointed behind Ashrow Diamond. Anna Bonina is also in here. She enjoyed a decent season last year. She's at 7-4, and we get to see the return of Say Goodbye from well over a year off the track. She was last seen chasing, looked a very progressive mare before obviously picking up her injury. Lady of the Vale, look, quite a bit to find with Natural Luck there, double figure prices. Airdrop in here as well for Gordon Elliott. She looked like a nice mare, only a 5-year-old. She's been kind of applying her trade over the summer. However, she is still a novice, so it is quite interesting.
Airdrop won at Listowel last week.
She did. Last month. She was a Down Royal winner last month, Airdrop.
Oh, did they? Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm thinking of a different horse,
so she's actually the one that interests me the most. As I go back talking about age, she's only a 5-year-old. I thought she was probably a little bit better than the winning margin suggested at Down Royal. Now again, ground's going to be it's not going to be, I wouldn't say it's a problem, but it's definitely a question mark. But what she has on her side here is race fitness. There is some others that do have race fitness, like Natural Luck and Lady of the Vale, but they're only rated 114. They've had plenty of opportunities. Both mares are in good form, but I don't think they're going to be good enough with a mark like that. Airdrop is one I actually am quite interested in. But again, it just very much depends on how Magical Zoe and Anna Bonina look. Magical Zoe's handled soft ground. We don't know how, like, Gowran's going to be awfully testing tomorrow. And I wouldn't fancy Anna Bonina to go on this ground at all. So, if Magical Zoe's fit enough, she should be winning this. But Say Goodbye as well. She's always been kept to decent ground. Airdrop could be the one here at 8-1. I think she's a nice price. She'd be the one I'd be putting up here, Dec. Is there anything you like in this field?
Airdrop does interest me a lot. Obviously, very interested in watching Save Goodbye, been on for over a year. Very good form before that. The second in the handicap, the mare's handicap at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival. She won a couple of races after that. Then it's not a betting race for me. Mares listed, hurdle horses giving weight away, penalties everywhere. It's just not a race I'm interested in have a bet on. But again, we want to see Say Goodbye run a good race and show she retains a lot of her ability. And you've covered Airdrop; she's very interesting as well. So a watching breed for me. You'd like to see horses that show the potential to Say Goodbye did retain it.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the year where she was a novice, like, there was some really good mares around. She did run in the novice hurdle at Fairyhouse. She was pulled up behind Brandy Love, but you look at the mares that ran in that, like Love Envoi, Blue, Impervious, Grangy. Like, My Design couldn't even get involved that day, and she's no mug, so it was a really, really top draw. novices from that year. And what I will say just before we do move on, and this is something I'm going to be hammering through the whole National Hunt season, follow the mares when they go into handicaps. We saw it a little bit at Cheltenham last year. We've seen it in all sorts of spring festivals. Obviously, I mentioned Dino Blue, who won second in the Grand Annual. She threw it away, didn't she, with all the mistakes? But she was beaten by Mascada, who was also a mare. You go back, heaven help us, winning the Coral Cup. Mares just do very well. You want to go back even further, was that mare that won the Martin Pipe, Indefatigable. Mares just seem to, I don't know if they just escape the handicapper, or it's a little bit more difficult to assess.
Are they hard to assess because you have to take the allowance
away? Yeah, I think so.
Is he getting it wrong? Is he, handicapping and taking off the mare's allowance? And they're not running in grade ones, they're running handicaps. Do the good mares really do that allowance in handicaps? So, but look, if that's the way it is, we'll just keep backing the mares.
That's the way it is. Yeah. So just keep an eye on the mares when especially mares that run in these type of hurdles and chases, that go into handicaps, because they can often be underestimated. Moving swiftly on deck to the 425 on Friday, the Golf Society's at Gowran Park handicap hurdle over 2.5 miles. This isn't actually a bad race. This is decent enough. We got a very unexposed Ochachino, a once raced winner from the Colin Murphy yard, 13-2. Hasn't been seen since June. You would wonder now, does he want heavy ground? Sir Bob in here as well, 11-year-old. He's been in phenomenal form for quite a while before his break. And then as tears go by, Chinks of Light. So a few old favourites, but this isn't actually a bad race, Dec. Is there anyone you like here?
I have swerved this race.
Right.
Chinks of Light is a cliff horse of mine, so
that's why I kind of asked. I thought you were going to go down that route.
I seen his name and I said no. I said, keep, don't get sucked in. Look, he hasn't jumped fences great, but he's back over hurdles here. He was a decent hurdler. I like him a long time. He won a race at Galway. I think he beat Favardi Champdou. Or was he second to Favardi Champdou? And then he was sold. But I just swerved it. Obviously, the Colin Murphy horse jumped out on me as well. Just the colours, the impervious ones ran in those colours. So having one that's of interest. Yeah, it's probably the quality's probably too much quality in this race for me, Andy.
I
find a handicap hurdle this small in Ireland, higher up the grade, I find harder to assess.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna force it, and I'm not gonna have a bet for the sake of it. But obviously, we'll be watching that Colin Murphy horse, and
very much so.
Chinks of Light is interesting back over hurdles. To be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. The one I quite liked, well, again, is Today the Day. Has gone well in the past, Crabat, and it was the price that kind of interested me. You 18-20 to 1 shot. You've gone well fresh in the past. Definitely likes testing ground. You can ignore his last couple of runs because he just doesn't seem to like fences. He's fallen the last twice over fences, and then he ran in a very hot handicap behind Lyser at Ferryhouse. And look, I just think that was just beyond them. He was only carrying 9 stone 12, so this would represent a drop in grade. And I'm just wondering if he is wound up enough. I think he could at least win a hurdle race off 115. As I said, losing his confidence over fences, but he did have some decent efforts. Like, he wasn't beaten far by Mascada at Limerick over fences at Christmas time. So the horse clearly has ability. And I would be very interested in him if you saw a bit of money for him, or if he was wound up off a 216-day break. He could go well at a big price. So he's just one I wanted to flag there. Moving on to the Thomastown handicap hurdle. Dec, you wanted to speak here about Como Park?
Yeah, look, Como Park's plenty experienced. Plenty experience from the flat, has won on the flat. Has had 3 maiden runs over 2 miles, but he may not be well handicapped because now that might he might not need this run. He might be okay because he's such an experienced racehorse, probably against, lower grade horses. I'd be just worried he's there might be something looking there. A Hard Target is in here. Poor Hard Target. Went up a couple of pounds and he bumped into Candana. He was winning off a penalty. He went to I think he went to Tremor the next day, second, went up another couple of pounds, and then he was brought down the last day. He's just getting no luck. He does deserve his win, but it's kind of hard. It's gonna be hard to see
different ground as well. Now
it's gonna be hard to see him going in now. I just hate seeing horses going up the handicap without winning. I think it can be very unfair. They weren't good enough to win off a mark, and when they go up and then they go up again, I think it's really, really unfair. The one I'm siding with is Happy Dreams.
Right.
He's in here off 99, won a handicap hurdle off 90 over this trip. He's won a chase off 107 since. So you'd like to think, I know it doesn't always translate, maybe he's a better chaser, but you'd like to think if he's won the chase off 107, we can win another hurdle off 99.
Very good. And I think I can speak for both of us that the mare's bumper is not something we are going to be covering right now. I know Aurora Vega is there 6-4 on. But look, we're not going to be gambling on this. I think bumpers are not something, unless there's a wow factor, or unless we're referencing it for hurdle races. We're probably not going to give the bumpers too much love, are we?
No. Didn't even look through it.
Fair enough. No, like I saw, it's nice to see Aurora Vega, and she'll be all over Twitter when she wins, and people be backing her for the bumper. But we're not going to get into what I think about bumpers. Not the way they've gone anyway. There is a purpose for them, but just not championship purpose for them. Anyway, Gowran Saturday is where I nearly started the top of the show. The 3-year-old maiden hurdle, we finally made it. This is, again, we're starting to get to the time now where the juvenile hurdlers are going to come out. It's probably not really just there yet. We do have No Big Deal in here, who I believe is a half brother to Good Heavens. So, nice. Full brother to Good Heavens. So some nicely bred JP McManus horses in here, but you just would never know. Emotivo as well was a fair ability on the flat. The Bellardos tend to go on rotten ground, and she does have a little bit of hurdles experience. She ran well at Down Royal. On her hurdles bow, she'd probably be the one I would side with here, but I wouldn't be surprised if she was favourite. Dec, you probably don't have much with the 3-year-old hurdle, do you?
No interest in the flat rats.
No interest in the flat rats.
Absolutely none. Oh Jesus, could be February by the time I look at this. No, the first 3-year-old hurdle I'll watch will probably be the one on Hatton's Grace Day at Fairy House. I think it's a graded race, and I'll be scrambling looking for a bit of form and something going, who the fuck are these guys?
Yeah,
Last time I went them, they were on the flat in Germany or something.
Yeah.
Who is this thing? I'm not even that interested in looking at the race.
Fair enough.
Some of them are such bad jumpers, it's nearly like a different sport to me. They don't jump great. Some of these races are terrible. Some people are good at it, some people like it. Fair enough. It's just not really for me. I'm like, when I'm looking at maiden hurdles for actual jump horses, you're looking for who's jumping, who can get into a nice rhythm, who's not getting knocked about. But some of these are so strange looking over hurdles. It's hard. I just look again. I don't force it if fingers have been burnt enough.
Fingers been burnt, yeah. Metamorphosis and the likes come to mind from last year. And all sorts. Yeah, no, it's not really a division I've gotten too mad in now myself, and I'm actually a person who prefers the flat. So so the maiden hurdle next Dec 250 Saturday. This doesn't look like the strongest of maiden hurdles. 17 go to the post over 2.5 miles. Gordon Elliott is likely going to have one of the favourites, either Zaidi or Mint Boy. And the one I did want to just kind of flag up real quick, Robert Tyner has a mare, Bridie Whittle. The dam is from a family of dower stayers. She was by Beneficial, and this mare is by Champs-Élysées. She wouldn't need to be a superstar to get involved now. And the family have gone well on heavy.
You'll be able to watch or to win the race?
Bridie Whittle, I don't know. She'd be like, I'd never back a horse with absolutely zero experience over hurdles, so I think she'd be one to watch. But it wouldn't surprise me if she went better than people think, because I think this is a very weak race. It just depends. I don't know how, if she's showing anything. The betting will tell you if she's showing anything, I suppose. She won't go off 50 to 1 if she's working well. But she's one that I'm just going to take a look at, because she has a nice pedigree, and I think she'll handle the ground, and I'm not surprised they're starting her over 2.5 miles. But yeah, I just want to keep an eye on. Any thoughts yourself on this maiden hurdle?
Champagne Admiral has some decent bumper runs behind some nice times, I think, behind Ballyborn and Irish Panther. Would definitely keep an eye on him. The most likely winner, I'd say, would be Zaidi. He was second to Canal End at Easter. I think Zaidi will go off favourite here. He's a bumper winner as well. That would be my idea of the winner. Look, if he's a back, well, price it back him, but probably not going to be. But yeah, Zaidi's the most likely winner, and I'll keep an eye on Champagne Admiral.
Very good, very good. Moving swiftly on, Dec, do you have an opinion on the 3:25 Joe Bollard Memorial Handicap Hurdle? 2.5 miles. This is more your level now, the top weight being rated 91. And again, just the 20 going to post with the 3 reserves, just in case any of them don't fancy.
This is some puzzle now. This will make you walk. There's a lot of days are first time in a handicap. I don't like them first time in a handicap. Maybe it's probably better it's better first time in a handicap at the other end, at the higher end. Down this low, they generally need it, that because suddenly they've lobbed around in maiden hurdles, and they've been asked to find it out my home, probably past beating horses at the end. And suddenly they go into a handicap and hurdles are coming at them thick and fast, and it's just completely different. They can be taken off their feet, so they take that run. Look, I do. Look, there's a few I made now of Incidentally, Robin ran decent last Friday, I thought, but just didn't stay. I definitely think he's not going to be far away. Great Island, it's his first run in a handicap. I think he'll go up and trip the next time.
Yeah.
I think he's a next time horse. I keep an eye on him. I think he'll go up to 3 miles the next time, and then it might be money down time. If he does go up to 3 miles, if you predict something, if you got something right, you're thinking the right way, it generally you have to bet then. But if he runs respectably and goes up and trip the next time, we'll be having a bet. Cyril Ban, first time in a handicap over 3 miles at Kilbeggan. I just think didn't enjoy that. Was hanging all over the track.
Unique track as well.
Yeah, it's hard to say whether that horse is going to need a confidence booster on Saturday or could be off. But it is a tricky one, this race. It's a tricky, it's a real hard one to work out. If I was going to put one up, it would be emotional damage. 3 maiden runs and a handicap hurdle run over 2 miles. So steps up and trip now. They're kind of, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, the one I was keeping an eye on was Jarium, 5-year-old.
Right.
Yeah, rated 87. Philip Enright's taken over from King Quirk. This horse showed a lot more ability on his handicap debut at Galway when he was ridden quite wide. He was still kind of pitching, but he weakened after the last. I'm just not sure if he's a dour stayer or if the horse just got tired off a break. I'd be interested to see what price he'd be, because he kind of fits your bill, Dec, of a second time in a handicap after showing a bit of promise on his handicap debut. But he's the usual profile, like stuffed in maiden hurdles behind the likes of Gaelic Warrior. But like you only have to go back to his bumper runs. And he was only like beaten 8 lengths in a bumper by A Dream to Share. Like, I know you can't translate that to hurdle form or jump form, but it shows you at the bare minimum the horse's ability. So maybe second time in a handicap, he could be one that he's going to be probably a double figure price. Philip Enright taking over. I might take a chance on him. I do think he could maybe, show it a little bit more again, coming back in trip, but I think the ground is okay, and yeah, he showed a bit last time out, so it'll be Jarium for me. And remind me there of your selection there.
It was emotional damage. Look, the 3 runs in a maiden and then the handicap debut over 2 miles, stepping up and trip.
Yeah, aptly named. An emotional damage is what you get from studying these races.
Yeah, I know. I'd say it'd be an interesting chat in the weigh room before the race, because there'll be decisions have to be made in the parade ring when the jockeys come out with the information, who's trying and who's not, who's lining up first. That'll tell a lot. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when they're all having a chat. So I can imagine looking through this, trainers are going, well, what have you got? What's happening here? Who's off? Who's not? But yeah, look, emotional damage. But it's one. There's a lot first time in a handicap. So yeah, I'll watch this race back a good few times, I'd say.
Yeah, and it doesn't get any easier, Dec, for the 4 o'clock, the Jack Duggan Memorial Handicap Hurdle. This is, I know you said the last one was a minefield. These horses clearly have decent ability, but what we've got 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 9 intended runners have all won last time out. So this is going to be extremely difficult. Yeah, this I didn't know where to start here. This was tough, and I don't know, is this a little bit out of your bracket, Dec, because the top weight is right
out of my bracket, yeah. This is not for me. I swear if this one, there's a horse nearly in the 140s in this. Are you joking me? I'd get a nosebleed if it went up that far.
Yeah, stop. There's like Gordon Elliott's horse, Ring Dufferin. He only got £5 for winning relatively easy at Downpatrick. Now, with that said, it was a rated novice hurdle. He was, he did it well. A rated novice hurdle is essentially a handicap. I know your lad Dec won at Downpatrick despite not being absolutely in love with the track. Your lad obviously being Count Anna for new listeners. He was, I wouldn't say this lad was on the wrong leg or anything, but he didn't jump well, and he still won relatively handily. So if he comes back to a more conventional track, and he's only up £5, he may be quite difficult to beat. But I didn't really have a massive opinion on this race, and it didn't sound like you did either, Dec.
No, swerving this, like, again, just not going to force it. She said so many of them have won last time out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too difficult. And like, I just find it, the good ones, you're not looking at them all the time. They get in and they get out of those 0 to 95s. Yeah. And they move up, and you're concentrating on new horses. When they get to this level, they've hit their ceiling, they're coming back down. When are they ready to go back? I just find it harder to spot, so I prefer to concentrate on those dark ones down the bottom.
Yeah. Well, the main event is next, Dec, the 4:35, the PWC Champion Chase, as I mentioned at the top of the show. It's the return of MYLN, who has to concede £4 and upwards. He has to concede £4 to Easy Game, and then upwards at that to the rest of the field. A stellar record first time out. I think I'm almost certain he's unbeaten first time out every time he's ran. So either in bumpers, maiden hurdles, beginners chases, and Down Royal. I think he's won at Down Royal, obviously the last twice.
It's Down Royal, isn't it?
It is. I think he won his maiden hurdle, a beginner's chase. I think he won that. Did he win that? Yeah, the bumper. Did he win that grade too? He definitely won the champion chase.
He won the JMY last year.
He won the JMY,
and he won the grade 2. He won the grade 2 today. Yeah.
He's won them all. Yeah. He loves the North.
Today Count Anna made his debut. He won the grade 2. So, obviously he goes to the grade 1 there after this, I'd imagine. Yeah,
that would be the plan, I would say. Easy Game, who's Mr. Summer Jumps these days, just a very, very well-placed horse who...
Surely the ground's gone against him.
Yeah, you would think. You would have to think, like he does handle it, he does go on it. He's just clearly a better horse on decent ground, and that's why we usually see him over the summer months. He did win this race last year, beating Kenboy. He won it at odds on. So he's back to try and retain his crown. Nice to see Gentleman's Game back. Obviously, Connection's very unlucky last season. He did very well in really beating the subsequent Irish Grand National winner, I Am Maximus, pretty easily in a beginner's chase at Christmas time at Leopardstown. He was not seen again for the rest of the season, and now, unfortunately, he is not a novice, so he has to be pitched in here. Mr. Fog Patches, he's most likely getting prepped for something like the Tri-Town, I'd say. He's not going to be troubling these. Good as Hell and Hurricane Georgie, Dec, 2 mares rounding out the field. Any opinion here?
Delighted to see Gentleman's Game back. 7-year-old hasn't been seen since he beat I Am Maximus at Christmas, as you said. I think we were both there that day.
Yeah, he was very good that day.
Yeah, both enjoyed that win. We've been waiting for this for a long time. We spoke very highly of him as a hurler. We thought he was a supreme horse at one stage. After he
nearly ended up in a stayers hurdle, straight up the 3 miles.
yeah,
wild.
Absolutely bolted up in the maiden hurdle. It's hard to know whether he's fit or not. If he's fit, look, it's not really a betting race for me, but
no.
And Wayland does have to give away weight.
A lot of weight, yeah.
I know he's won first time out, but he's not going to be wound up. Gentleman's Game is the horse I'll be watching. I will enjoy this race, and I'll be watching him with a view to backing him later on the season. I don't know whether he's going to go. Will he go to the Paddy Power like French Dynamite did last year?
He could. He needs more than one. He needs another 2 runs, doesn't he? I think in the UK, I don't think he can rock up after 1 or 2. Yeah, I think you need. I think you did. I think that's hurdles, but I can't. I think you're gonna need at least 3 runs over fences before you can run in a chase, handicap chase of that standard. I could double check it, but he wouldn't have gotten a rating yet for just 1 run. He was 154, I think, over hurdles, and he probably ran to somewhere close to that. 150 over hurdles, and I'd say he was 154 RPR for his chase. I wouldn't say he was a million miles off. He probably had to run to 150 to beat I Am Maximus first time up, would he? Easily.
Well, he won the Irish National, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like he probably
he's
did,
banged there. Yeah. He'd be banged there on ratings. So
he was good that day as well. Look, it's hard to have a bet. It's hard to have a bet in these races at this time of year.
Yeah,
it's much easier to have a bet in the handicaps. What horses you are. Sometimes they don't need to be race fit, but you're talking about grade 1 animals here, so this one's hard to gauge. But I'm looking forward to seeing Gentleman's Game.
Yeah, no, me too. Really looking forward to it. So the next race, Dec, there's 2 horses that do kind of perk me up for the hospitality at Gowran Park, handicap chase 510 on the card on Saturday. Archie's Charm and Willy Wampus. Obviously, this race could be carnage. This actually could be, as a spectacle, this could be a right laugh, because Irish Blaze only knows one thing of doing, and that's going as hard as you can for as long as you can, and Willy Wampus is the exact same. So you're going to have heavy ground and 2 absolute headbangers leading these along. These could get strung out by about 2 furlongs, and the horse that's a furlong behind could end up winning. I thought this race was absolutely fascinating. I did quite like Willy Wampus. He did go into my tracker after a really nice run. I think it was last November behind Kilcrut. He probably took a little bit longer than he should have, just because of the way he was campaigned to win, but he deserved his win at Tramore last time out, and he did it really well. But the one I'm going with is Archie's Charm, and I would have liked Willy Wampus, but it was more the pace that's on. I think Archie's Charm can just come from off it and go and win this. If you want to talk about unlucky horses, I know you were talking about what's the name of the horse you were talking about that was unlucky behind? Yeah, no, Archie's Charm is the hard target, just a little bit better version. If you want to go back to last season, and I know this because the amount of times I backed him. So he goes to Down Royal. I really fancy him. He's 4-1. He's off 118. He bumps into final orders. So the next time he goes to Gowran Park off 122, and he bumps into Dunboyne. And then he goes to Leopardstown, and I really fancy him this time, 12-1. I was like, all right, you can't bump into 3 horses. There's absolutely no way. He goes to the Adair Manor Opportunity Handicap Chase, a race that's capped at 0 to 1, 2, 3. And who does he bump into? He bumps into the fucking plate winner, 7. So like, you could not make it up. It was just very, very unlucky. An awful run of luck, and I think I don't even want to say his form petered off, because I don't really think it did. He just doesn't look like he just looks like a horse that doesn't like winning, but he just constantly kept bumping into horses. Oh, actually, to top it off, he bumped into Angel's Dawn next time out with Down Royal, but he was a little bit below form that day as a 9 to 4 favourite. I think it might have just been one race too many in quick succession. I thought he ran quite well over 2 mile 5 at Punchestown on his last run, but I think that was just a pipe opener for him to start the season. He should be cherry ripe for this off 120. He's one of my better bets of the weekend, Dec. Archie's Charm. Have you any opinion here?
No, I swear if this.
Yeah.
It was too tricky. No, I've no great opinion on it. I didn't waste too much time on it either. I just swear if it.
Happy days. Yeah, no, Archie's Charm.
This is the thing, every other podcast is all about the grade 1s and the big, high rated handicaps. And we're just like, nah, not for me. No, but here, no opinion on this grade 2 chase with Cheltenham winners in it. No.
No, we're good. We'll move on. We'll move on to this beautiful looking Join Gowran Park Racing Club Beginners Chase. It concludes a brilliant 2 days at Gowran. And look, there's going to be future winners in here. We have the unbelievably unwell Largy Debut, who just is allergic to winning, or really actually allergic to being a racehorse nearly at times. Like, he's borderline uncontrollable. Let's be clear about it. And Francescan Rock, who's came up in many conversations between ourselves, Dec. You like Francescan Rock, don't you? You think this is going to be a horse to follow this season?
Yeah, definitely. He's just that type. He was grand as a hurdler. He raced in plenty of maidens. Probably, overly exposed, making his handicap debut over hurdles, because he had, hit the door so many times in maidens. He finished third at Cork on his handicap debut, and then he was third to Gaelic Warrior in a grade 1 at Punchestown. After that, Fury was second. Yeah. You mightn't even see the best of this horse till next season, till his second season over fences.
Only 6 as well. So
like Gentleman's Game, maybe not as good as Gentleman's Game, or not as forward as Gentleman's Game, but a typical Mouse Morris slow burner, an old style Irish chaser. Where does he end up? Like, is he a 4 miler horse? I think he's better than that, although better and better horses are running in the 4 miler now. Everyone wants to back 7 and 8 to 1 shots for Cheltenham now already. I'm not really interested in having much of an anti-post bet on horses that haven't jump fences, but if someone was giving you 100 to 1 on him for the RSA or the 4 miler, that'd be my sort of bet now, because I do think he's going to be a really, really good chaser and a different animal to the one you've seen. Like, not that he was a bad horse. He knocked on the door. If you're knocking on the door and maiden hurdles, you're very unlucky, because the handicapper's going to throw the book at you.
Yeah.
And you're just not at grade 1 level. You're just below it. But he's going to make a better chaser. Oh, well, I hope he makes a better chaser. And look, it's going to be heavy ground. It's probably gone against us for our first podcast doing this, after storm at Gowran, hitting this heavy ground. But if this fella can jump out of heavy ground and jump well out of heavy ground, he could be something else. He could be looking at, a potential Gold Cup horse in a couple of years.
There we go. A potential Gold Cup horse in Francescan Rock. Right now, his yard comparison is probably something like Foxy Jack's, but that's no bad comparison. Obviously, Foxy Jack's running so well in a Kerry National only last week. He is, yeah. He does what he likes, but he's very talented on his day, as he showed in the Kerry National. I think he was third, was he? Yeah,
he won the Midland National, $100 pot, so during the summer. It was a track that's completely right-handed, so that would have suited him down to the ground.
Yeah. Well, moving on, Dec, we'll just gloss over Sunday because it's such a good card. There's a bit of a flat action in Tipperary as well. One of the very few mixed cards remaining in Ireland. There's not very many. There's one at Roscommon. There's one here. There's not too many remaining though. Is there anything that you just want to give a little shout out to at Tipperary on Sunday, or did you just kind of stick with Gowran?
I didn't look too hard at Tip. Obviously the grade 3 novice hurdle looks nice. It looked really competitive. It's early in the season to see a lot of the really, the horses you might see come March, but you will find you're gonna find Christmas handicap hurdle winners here. I think again I'll be watching. Although, like, Champ Kiley won this race last year. I think Long Dog has won it in the past, maybe. Nice horses run here, but those ones in behind, is we both know only the best place to handicap a horse in graded races. So they're definitely one to keep a good eye on and watch for when they drop back into handicap company. But like Samoy's in here, he won a handicap last week.
Yeah, he was good.
The Wall Park won, and was that a maiden hurdle last week? Like,
no, it was a decent novice hurdle. He beat actually they're reopposing Bailey Stock. He beat who just ran no sort of race. He was 1-3 or something. He just ran no sort of race. That looks like a good race though. Obviously, the foal of any power, mystical power, he's going to be priced within an inch of his life to win this, I'd say. Obviously very impressive at the Galway Festival, but this is going to be a step up. And I do actually have a lot of time for Samui. I was at Nace when he actually won his bumper, and I think he was 3-1, relatively well back towards the off. It was one of the first 4-year-old bumpers last year.
Did he win the 4 on Lawler's Day?
Yeah, that's the one he won. Yeah. And like it wasn't the only bumper ran that day because of the low sun. The Lawlers itself may as well have been a bumper. But Samui is a nice horse. 128, I would say, underestimates him, and I'm a little bit surprised they're kind of going here because, I suppose I wouldn't even call him. I don't think he's going to be one of these horses that is going to be exposed by the time the spring rolls around. He's one of these horses that could keep progressing. And for any Cheltenham fanatics that are going to be listening to us, these are the type of races. I know you just kind of alluded to it there, Dec. The Boyle Sports Novice Hurdle Grade 3, you could so easily find your Martin Pipe winner in here, very, very easily. And so just do keep very, very close eye on it. Horses that finish 3rd or 4th, even the horse that wins it can sometimes end up relatively well handicapped. So do just keep an eye on it. Really, and this race does look particularly strong. I'm going to keep a close eye on Samui. His rating of 128 probably does leave him with a little bit to find. Obviously depends on Mystical Power's ability. Obviously Arctic Fly as well in here, who's won his last 2. Listed novice hurdle winner at Galway last time out. I'm just thinking that's not Arctic. I just wanted to. Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. It's the dam was. I thought I'd noticed Arctic Lady, who's I'm going off on a tangent here. She was a sister to Arctic Fire. That horse made a little bit of news, just being obviously the first foal out of that mare. Obviously then Dec, we got the Horse and Jockey Hotel Hurdle Grade 3. This is going to see the return, well, not really the return, obviously he won the Galway Hurdle, but Zarak the Brave, who, you don't see many 4-year-olds rating a 152 after winning a race like the Galway Hurdle. He could be very exciting. Do you have any opinion on him or where we may see him going forward?
I think he will be looked after this year. He's 4 turn of 5, and I don't think Willie's going to go mad with him unless he, was doing absolutely everything right. But look, I don't think Willie buys a horse and gets him a year off. He's not too hard on his
4-year-olds, yeah.
His 4-year-olds / 5-year-olds. So he might pick up some easier pots with him and give him a break midwinter, and he'd be back for the spring. He'd probably run in the Champion Hurdle, but I'd say he'd be looked after. I don't think he's going to dance every dance over the winter. Pick this up have a break. Maybe there's another one. You know, maybe come back for like he probably gets further. Could he rock up in the buy-in hurdle at Navan? You know, he'd probably have to carry a penalty if he wins this, unfair on him. But yeah, look, I don't think he's gonna dance every dance this winter. But you know, from what they're saying and from what he done at Galway, you'd be expecting him to win this.
You would, yeah, 100%. And he's rated 152, so he's kind of nearly entitled to win it. Yeah. Just before we go into our best bets deck, I just want to give one shout out. I'm going off the cliff as per usual. Captain Combi is lining up, hopefully, in the O'Dwyer Steel Dundrum Novice Chase, a grade 3. I thought he was brilliant on his chasing debut, actually. I thought he jumped fence to fence for a small horse as well, beating Great Bear. He was backed as if defeat was out of the question as well. He ended up 11-8 and just absolutely danced in. This is going to be a step up in class, but he was a horse I had so much time for last year, and he did disappoint me a little bit. 6th in the Coral Cup and then just ran no sort of race at Aintree. I'd always forgive him that. He had a little spin on the flat then at Roscommon. Again, disappointed me again in the Galway hurdle, but again, he was coming back in trip. I wouldn't have really held him too accountable. I think he's going to be a better horse over 2.5 miles. But this is what he's going to be facing. He is going to be facing 2.5 miles. And to me, it probably looks like he only has the 10-year-old Sharjah to be, who, as you would say, Dec, is a little bit hairy to be going chasing at this stage. Captain Combi could end up a very backable price on Sunday, so I'd keep a very, very close eye on him at Tipperary. And I think he's well up to this class. So unless you have anything to say about those chasers, Dec, or you all good?
No, I was laughing seeing where is he gone? I'm just trying to find the race I've gone off it. Tully Howe Fort, official rating in 97, turning up here. He actually beat Kiondan at Listowel at the Harvest Festival last year. He was running those 0 to 95, so you know.
Try to get a bit of prize money in.
Yeah, pick up the prize money.
300 quid for 6.
Yeah, you know. So look, by all accounts, Sharjah absolutely loved his chasing debut. Look, he's such a likeable horse, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
He's definitely the best it is. But did you mention Seneca there?
It was Captain Combi I mentioned. Right,
yeah. I thought Seneca's a nice horse. I haven't looked through the form too much.
No, fair enough.
They shouldn't be beating Sharjah, but Seneca, if I'm even saying it right. Seneca is definitely one I'd be keeping on side going forward anyway.
Very good. Well, that brings us towards the end of the show, Dec. Our first ever top 1 is nearly in the books. We're going to give you a quick best bets. Only one for me on Friday, which was in the Mares. I'm actually going to back her in the Mares listed hurdle Airdrop. I just think she's a little bit bigger price, and I just like the fitness advantage that she does have, and I don't think she's going to be a million miles off this. So I'm happy to be backing her. And then obviously at Gowran Park, I had 2 to be backing, a couple to watch, but 2 to back, which were, as I just come across, just trying to get the time of the race for you guys. 3:25. Yeah, 3:25 with Jarium, who has a second run on a handicap. And then my main bet of the podcast or of the week is in the 5:10 on Saturday at Gowran, the Hospitality at Gowran Park handicap chase, Archie's Charm. And for the love of God, if there's another, extremely progressive horse in here, I would be feeling very, very sorry for Connections. But Archie's Charm, Dec, is the main bet for me on Saturday. Do you want to just list off a couple of your main ones before we leave it at that?
Yeah, look, there's lots I like, but betting wise, probably Chem Dog in the 3:15 2-mile handicap hurdle tomorrow, and at 5 o'clock 2.5-mile handicap hurdle Happy Dreams. Maybe put the 2 of them in a double. Obviously, I've sort of gone through nearly every race and given the most likely winners. To be honest, on the tissues, Franciscan Rock is second favourite. If he's not favourite, if he's a back,
you think he's going to win the Blade and RSA?
You are?
If you think he's going to win the bleeding RSA,
look, imagine not backing, next season's Gold Cup winner at 9-4 on his chasing debut. Are you mad?
There you go.
Look, I do think he's going to make a really nice chaser. On that, do you know what? I will go for emotional damage in that race.
It's the best named horse ever.
That's what we want to do.
I love it.
Get stuck into them, and you learn so much getting stuck into them, or else you'll, learn to stop gambling.
That's it.
Now, look, I do enjoy trying to pick those races apart. There's a lot of them in there. Watch that race a few times. Anyone who's, wants to be putting horses in the notebook. These are the sort of horses you want to be putting in the notebook. We're all told about the ones who run in the higher grade races. You don't really need a notebook for them. You have, Twitter and all social media and apps. Everyone knows them, but nobody's looking at these. And this is where you make your money, because you'll get good prices, because it's you and the connections that have spotted them.
Literally.
Nobody's really looking at them, So, emotional damage in the 325.
Right, emotional. That's such a great name. I love it. All right, emotional damage in the 325 for Dec. That brings us to the end of our first ever Take a Pull podcast, and this is going to be, we're going to get a lot more polished, a lot more snappier, and we're going to.
Well, look, I suppose, Andy. Most days we're doing this, it'll be one race meeting. We cover two in detail, and we mentioned Tipperary as well. So it'd be a lot snappier, 20-30 minutes, and hopefully lots of winners. And obviously this is not live like some of the other projects we do. We'll be sharing this from YouTube, so we need the subscriptions. Hit that button, subscribe if you enjoyed it. Give us a like, give us a bit of feedback, because we do know it's something different, and we're not tech savvy, the two of us. You want to see us to me trying to get this thing going, you know what we were doing. So
instructions were
look, if there's anything we can improve on, let us know, or if there's anything we could concentrate on more. As I said, it is a bit different. Let us know. We're easy 100%. We're all ears. We're always open to listening to your thoughts and chatting to anyone, really.
We do plan to share our trackers, Excels of horses to follow, and maybe even just horses to follow podcasts, which I'm keen on doing, which maybe Take a Pull too. So that's going to be ourselves for the first week, guys. But as Dec said, like, share, subscribe, Take a Pull Pod on Twitter, Take a Pull Pod, I believe, on YouTube as well. We're going to be getting as many of these up as possible. Again, it's not going to be a fixed day. It's just going to be when the racing dictates. But I'm very much looking forward to this. Guerrilla podcast. Yeah, very, very Irish. But until then, guys, thank you very much for listening and subscribing, and we will see you next time.
Cheers.
Bye bye.